It's Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. It's the 42nd day of the year, and we've got a Valentine's Day storm developing that could bring rain, thunderstorms, and snow from the plains all the way to the east coast. Meanwhile, a powerful Pacific system is moving into California with heavy mountain snow, and we need to talk about this false spring that's fooling everyone. So let's dive right into this complex forecast. Let me start by discussing this massive storm system that's building across the south and moving toward the mid-Atlantic as we approach Valentine's Day. This could lead to a genuinely chaotic Valentine's Day weekend where we're tracking a dynamic low-pressure system emerging from the southwest, and it's going to bring serious moisture with it. Look at this precipitable water analysis. These are our moisture values. You can see elevated moisture levels across the southern plains, where those green and yellow areas indicate significant amounts of water vapor streaming up from the Gulf of Mexico into places like Texas and the deep south. You can see this moisture surge happening over the weekend and continuing into early next week. But notice what happens as that moisture blob moves northward. It gets disrupted by cooler, drier air moving in from the north. Whenever that collision occurs, we generate storm systems, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Let's examine what the future radar could look like according to the GFS model. You can see potentially significant rain and isolated thunderstorms forming from Texas all the way over into the Tennessee Valley, especially as we progress from Friday into Saturday. Here we are around 11 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, and we could see heavy rain impacting Oklahoma City and Nashville. Notice how that rain repeatedly moves over the same areas, which could lead to flooding problems. We're also seeing an increase in reflectivity values, especially across Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. During this time frame, we could be discussing thunderstorms across this region, so we need to monitor this very closely for potential severe weather risks. The GFS model doesn't show much snow development, but there's still a chance that people on the northern edge of this system could experience winter weather. The models aren't very consistent regarding this storm system yet. I'm not completely confident in the exact track and impacts, but I am becoming more confident that we're going to see significant rainfall across the southern tier. The snow potential is still on the table with this system. We're going to maintain hope if you're a snow lover, but if you hate snow, then you probably don't need to worry about this one. Our weekend storm signal has shifted westward somewhat because although we're likely going to see a line of storms along the cold front pushing between Mississippi and Alabama, there's actually a chance we could see more robust, possibly isolated supercell activity during the initial phases of this storm system as it organizes over Texas. That's why we've now included Dallas in our maybe risk area, along with San Antonio. Now, this isn't an official outlook or anything. I'm just highlighting where I think we might see thunderstorms as we move forward. This is very unofficial, but it represents my current thinking on where we could experience lightning and thunder heading into the weekend and early next week. With all this uncertainty, there is something I am absolutely certain about. It's going to rain. Especially if you're located in Arkansas, over the next 5 days, many locations could receive anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of rain. A few places could exceed 5 inches of rainfall. Look at that sweet spot developing right around Little Rock. You can see from Oklahoma City over to Memphis represents the most concentrated corridor of heavy rainfall, where we could see training storms moving over the same areas repeatedly. I don't expect we're going to see numerous severe thunderstorms in this region, but enough heavy rain could certainly lead to flooding problems. Make sure you're prepared if you're in a flood-prone area. However, this is probably going to be a quite welcome rain event because it's been a significant amount of time since we've had substantial precipitation across the southeast. Now, all this rain and potential thunderstorm activity in the east is accompanying a major warm-up, which we'll discuss more in a moment. But while the east experiences warming, the west is getting absolutely hammered by a potent Pacific system right now. Heavy snow is falling across the higher elevations of California. Up in the Sierra Nevada, we're expecting 2-day totals to exceed 2 feet of snow at the highest elevations. I'm specifically concerned about travel along Interstate 80 through Wyoming and Utah over the next 36 hours. That's right. For people in Utah, we could see some locations receiving over 8 inches of snow. If we really want to examine snowfall totals, let's look at the National Blend of Models forecast. We're looking at 46 inches of snow way up in the mountain peaks, potentially 50 inches near Yosemite National Park. Some places in Utah could receive over a foot of snow, but we're talking about high mountain elevations. As you can see, For most valley locations, this will be a rain event rather than snow. Now let's discuss this warm-up and the preceding pattern flip. Everyone's enjoying beautiful weather right now east of the Rocky Mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous here at the weather station today. All of our snow has completely melted. It's the complete opposite of what we were dealing with last week. It feels fantastic, and I'm sure many of you can relate to what I'm describing. But here's the thing, this pattern isn't going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, as we move past this weekend, it's going to get even warmer. We're looking at temperatures 40 degrees above average in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We're still seeing temperatures 20 degrees above average in Oklahoma City. Everyone in the red, brown, and white areas will potentially experience much above average temperatures as we head into early next week. We're talking about widespread 60s and 70s, even extending up to Chicago, which could see 50-55 degrees on Monday at 4 p.m. This represents pretty significant warmth for this time of year. It's not going to feel like summertime, but it will definitely provide a nice bout of relief from the winter cold. It looks like this pattern will stick around for a while as well. Looking at the Climate Prediction Center outlook for the next 6 to 10 days, we're going to continue experiencing above average temperatures across the central and eastern United States. The only areas that will continue seeing below average temperatures are in the West, California, Oregon, and Washington. The region where we're most confident about continued much above average temperatures will be the South Central United States, from Oklahoma City to Houston to Dallas. But here's the critical point. What goes up must come down. If you look much further into the future, beyond the 10-day outlook, there's going to be another significant pattern flip. I've never been more confident about anything in long-range forecasting. We're going to return to a colder pattern across the east, and there are going to be several more opportunities for significant snow events. Right now, there aren't specific signals appearing in the computer models, but I absolutely think we're set up for several major storm systems during these pattern transitions, and one of them is going to produce significant snow accumulations. Maybe it'll impact the plains, maybe it'll affect the Great Lakes region again, or it could be another system targeting the central to southern United States. All I know is that we're definitely not finished with snow this winter, and we're also not done with severe weather potential. We might get a small taste of severe weather with this weekend's storm system, but there's going to be another larger, more significant storm system that could provide more atmospheric lift and greater severe weather potential as we progress into late February. This false spring we're experiencing right now is exactly that, false. While it feels wonderful and provides much-needed relief from the harsh winter weather we've endured, it's setting up conditions for potentially dramatic weather changes ahead. The temperature contrasts we're seeing are simply too extreme to be sustainable. When you have air masses this different in temperature trying to coexist across the same continent, the atmosphere eventually responds by generating significant storm systems to try to balance out these differences. From a meteorological standpoint, this is a classic late winter setup. We often see these dramatic temperature swings in February and March as the seasons begin to transition, but the transitions are rarely smooth or gradual. For agriculture, this warm-up could be concerning if it triggers premature plant growth that could then be damaged by subsequent freezing temperatures. Many plants use temperature cues to determine when to break dormancy, and a false spring like this can cause significant agricultural losses if cold weather returns. From an energy perspective, this warm spell will provide temporary relief from heating costs, but utilities need to remain prepared for potential demand spikes if winter conditions return suddenly. The Pacific storm system affecting California is actually quite beneficial for water resources, despite the travel challenges it's creating. California has been dealing with variable precipitation patterns, so any significant mountain snowpack accumulation is welcome news for water supply management. However, the rapid temperature changes we're seeing across the country are creating challenging forecast scenarios. The computer models are struggling with consistency because the atmospheric pattern is so dynamic and unstable. Valentine's Day weekend is shaping up to be quite eventful weather-wise. The combination of abundant moisture, temperature contrasts, and atmospheric dynamics could create a memorable weather event for many people across the country. For those planning outdoor Valentine's activities, definitely keep an eye on the forecast updates as we get closer to the weekend. Conditions could change rapidly, especially along that temperature boundary where the warm, moist air collides with cooler air masses. The severe weather potential we're tracking isn't huge at this point, but any severe weather in February is noteworthy, since we're still technically in the off-season for severe storms. This early season severe weather often catches people off guard because they're not yet mentally prepared for tornado and severe thunderstorm threats. The flooding potential is probably a more immediate concern than severe weather, especially across Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, where we could see training thunderstorms producing excessive rainfall rates over the same areas repeatedly. Things are definitely getting interesting from a weather pattern standpoint. I'm not going to have an update tomorrow. We'll let the computer models continue to resolve the details of this weekend's system and see how the pattern evolves. But if anything significant changes or if the storm signals become more concerning, I'll be right back with additional updates. The strange signal I'm seeing in the long-range forecast suggests we're entering a much more active weather pattern, so stay tuned. Make sure you hit that like button on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next forecast update.